Oh, Mother Nature's been at it hard this morning. Well, that's the end of an era there. The old tree house now on the ground. And I got more stuff to clean up. In fact, I can't even get out of the driveway until I get out here. There's another one. Elm tree this time, with branches out across the driveway. So now I'm gonna have to get up and get the chainsaw out and clean some of this mess up today. Started out at 60 degrees this morning, and now it's dropping way down, and with the wind chill, it's cold out here. Wind's supposed to keep blowing all day long, blowing in some cold weather. It poured down rain last night. You'd see the yard's all flooded again. The pond practically has white caps on it. The pond I built in 1992. I had a contractor bring in a D9 dozer, and he just scraped the dirt and he pushed it up there on the hill and made a great big hole in the ground, big bowl. And I planted those pine trees up there. They were just little seedlings, but after they dug the pond out, there's no inlet to it. There's no stream coming into it, except the water that runs off the yard runs in there. It took about a year for the pond to fill up. And at that point, you know, there was no grass here. It was all dirt because it was all freshly bulldozed and landscaped. So the pond water was like brown mud, just dark, you know, just mud water. So I couldn't do anything with it for at least a year. I had to let that mud settle down and let some activity get started in there, some frogs maybe, and some you know, insect creatures and stuff. And then I wanted to stock it. So I'm gonna go in where it's warm and I'll tell you that story. Holy. So as it was, I wanted to stock the pond. I wanted to have some nice fish in there. So I did a little research, and the state was recommending to stock it with bass, largemouth bass, channel cats, catfish, and hybrid bluegill. So they had a program where you could order fish ahead of time, and then they would bring a truck out to your county, and they'd tell you where to come, where to pick it up. But they said, get some drums, some like 55-gallon drums or something, fill them up with some of your pond water and bring it along with you. So I did that. I got one of these plastic drums, you know, and I was able to get it about half full of pond water, put it on the back of my pickup truck, and when the day came, I went to pick up my fish. Now, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. You know, I expected to see some nice fish, you know. And no, the fish that came out of this truck were little tiny minnows, just little tiny things. And they had these big, like, clear plastic bags, almost the size of a garbage bag. And they would, you know, put about, I don't know, 5 gallons of water in one of the plastic bags. And then they would dump about 50 bass into the plastic bag, squirt some air in there, tie it up, and hand it to you. So I slid that down in the plastic drum, and they did the same with the bluegill and the channel cats. So I had these like plastic bags full of my pond water with the fish in them, and you know, and I stuck them back in this drum of pond water. Well, they said, well, when you get home, put the don't let them out in the pond. Take and set the whole plastic bag on the edge of the pond, and let it acclimate to the same temperature. So let the plastic bag sit there for like an hour before you open it up and let the fish out. So I did that, let sit there for at least an hour, and then dumped them all into the pond. So, you know, I was kind of partial to those little buggers, and I was always checking on them, and they got big real quick, you know. They started eating all the bugs that fell into a pond or whatever, and they grew to be pretty healthy. So within a few years, I had some nice sized fish there. And, we'd go out there and we'd catch, some little like 2-pounders or whatever. And it was fun. And we'd put them back in, just catch them and release them. As the years went by, they began to be like our pets, when you walked out to the pond and say you had some stale bread to feed them, they'd hear you coming and they'd come swimming like, puppies, like, oh, they're bringing me food. And they'd swarm around and you'd throw the bread in there and they'd eat it right. I mean, you could feed the catfish right out of your hand. You could hold the bread down by the water and they'd come right up out of the water and take it right out of your hand. So, we kind of had a little bond with our fish going on there. Well, one year, I had a friend that wanted to stop over and spend a couple days, and she brought her new husband with her. I didn't know this guy from Adam, and I really didn't know her too well, but she was a friend of the family's or whatever. And they stayed in an extra room in our house for 2 or 3 days. Well, he asked me, he said, hey, you mind if I fish in your pond? And I said, well, here's the deal. I said, those fish are pretty much almost like our pets. So if you're going to fish, I just want you to use discretion. Catch them, release them, throw them back in when you're done. Now, I had to go to work during that time, and I was gone probably 10 hours out of the day. So I come home from work one day then, and he's sitting on the front porch in a chair smoking a cigarette. And there's a bucket sitting over by the porch steps. And I looked in this bucket and there's three of my bass, like 2-pounders. They're in this bucket and they've been sitting there all day. So they're already stiff, there's not even water in this bucket. And I was like shocked. And I look at him and I'm like, what the heck is this? And he goes, oh yeah, I caught those this morning and I was going to clean them up and eat them. I thought that'd make a good dinner. Then why are they sitting here in this bucket dead? Yeah, he says, well, I had good intentions, but I just never got around to it. I said, well, here's the deal. I told you it was catch and release only. Those are my fish. I didn't give you permission to go out and catch them and let them sit in a bucket and die. I mean, it would have been one thing if you would have even cooked them and ate them or shared them with everybody else. But no, you just put them in the bucket and you let them die. Well, he stands up and he's kind of like, oh, yeah, well, there's other fish in there. It wasn't like I took them all. And he flicks his cigarette butt out into my front yard. Well, I get to looking and there's like cigarette butts all over my front yard. So I pretty much told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you go out in the front yard and pick up all your trash? He looks at me kind of puzzled. I said, your cigarette butts. I said, nobody here smokes, and we don't throw cigarette butts out in our front yard. That's just like littering on my property. Totally disrespectful, dude. And then when you're done there, you may want to talk to your wife about spending the rest of your vacation somewhere else. Oh, that guy irked me. It just burned me up. After that, the years went by, and I was into the biker scene, and I'd go up to the biker bar, and there was this cat up there, and he says, hey, Mark, you don't mind if I come over and fish your pond? I said, well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind if it's just catch and release. In other words, you catch them, you throw them back in the pond. Oh, yeah, no, man, that's all I ever do, catch and release, man. I don't take them. I don't take them fish. I just catch them, I put them right back in. I just like to fish for the sport of it. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I guess it would be all right. I mean, he's a fellow biker, and he's trying to be cordial, trying to be friendly, Anyway, time goes by, and he tells me, I see him up at the bar one time, he goes, oh, I just want to thank you for letting me fish in your pond, man. That's really nice, man. You got a really nice place there. I really liked it, man, and you got some nice fish in there. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, then I'm sitting up there at the bar, and I just happened to be walking down through the bar there, and he's standing there talking to this other guy, and I hear him bragging, and he's going, man, that guy, I went over there and I caught this bass out of there, man. It was like this, man. I cooked that thing up, man. That's some good eating, man. I'm going to go back there and get me some more, because I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, hey. And he looked really shocked, and I said, you told me you were only going to catch and release, and I specifically told you I didn't want you taking any of my fish out of there. He says, oh man, you didn't think I was going to throw that one back in, did you? Man, I wanted to clock him right then and there. It just burned me up. Anyway, to make a long story short, there's no more fishing in my pond. I've had people ask me all the time, hey man, you mind if I come over and fish in your pond? No, I do mind. And that's why, because twice I got burned, and I'm just not going to deal with it anymore. Now, do I fish in there? Oh, I used to, but I don't anymore. Like I said, those fish are just kind of like our pets, you know. You can go out there and they'll follow me all around the pond when I'm mowing, and you know, the mower like makes the bugs fly up out of the grass, and they end up jumping in the pond, or a little spider runs out there across the water, and then fish are out there, and they're just eating those things up as fast as they land in the water. Them fish are eating them up. We like to feed them too, you know, once in a while, and they're partial to that. They hear us coming, and you could just see the ripples coming across the pond like a school. We get the catfish come up, the bluegill come up, and the bass, they'll come too, but they kind of stay back a little bit, but they'll come up too. And V'll stand there talking to them like they understand her, and you know what? Maybe they do. I don't know. So anyway, I got to get some work clothes on. Maybe put my coveralls on or something, and I got to get the chainsaw fired up because it looks like I'm going to be down there sawing up some trees for the rest of the day. And that wind is biting cold. So thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And until next time, cats, I'll catch you later.